Hey guys, Stealth here. In this video I'm looking at a Scandinavian Mechanized deck that was sent in by Simiejump. I hope I'm pronouncing that username correctly, by the way. He says it's a deck that's designed for capturing and defending towns. Have a special look at the Lift Garden. Okay, we'll definitely do that. He wants to know if I can test it and improve it. I will test it, but I'm first going to improve it. I know that might not be the order you were expecting, but before I take a deck into battle, I will first have a look at it to see if it fits my playstyle or what I would do differently. Now, command-wise, he has a command infantry unit in the Lynx, nice and fast chopper. 6 strength means that it will not get shot down in one go by a manpad, which is a very nice advantage of the Lynx. Not only this Lynx has it, all Lynx helicopters have this trait. So that's a nice thing to keep an eye on if you're concerned about getting your forces shot down by an AA missile. Next, he has Command Centurions. I don't really like the Centurion line because they are so damn slow off-road. Their autonomy is pretty bad at only 450 kilometers. They do have a 20-pounder main gun which fires reasonably accurate or reasonably fast. Accuracy is virtually non-existent at 20%. An armor penetration of 8 means that you will not really hit things usually. But that's not the point of this vehicle. It's really the vehicle that you're looking for is only this section and this thing down below. A command unit which is armed is sometimes nice to have, but only in very heavily contested areas, and even then you might not want to give your position away by firing. So what you're looking for is something that has decent off-road speed, is preferably of medium size to make it a little easier to hide, has good autonomy, and has a decent amount of armor. Well, this thing definitely does have a decent amount of armor, but I'm going to compare it to the M48A5, see if this thing does any better. You're going to sacrifice a lot of armor, especially frontal armor, 4 points there. I'm also concerned about the top armor, which is usually where cluster bombs attack and where artillery is going to hit you. This is only 1 armor. The Centurion has 2, but I still want to try and avoid the Centurion. Unfortunately, there's not really a lot of options here. Maybe the Strip BV90. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Strip BV90. Reason is that this thing has the same amount of top armor. The rest of the armor is worse, I do realize that. But it's a medium-sized vehicle, and its speed is significantly better than the one on the FFC Centurion. So that's the unit I want to have in this deck. Gives me 8 command vehicles, should be enough. 1 fob to resupply infantry, and there's a lot of infantry in this deck. Scanias to resupply infantry that is hiding out in a town. The other option that you have here is the Amphibil or the Unimog Cargo. Unimogs are not that good. These things travel at 70 kph off-road, which means that if you have to go off-road because you cannot really take the road into town straight away, you want to have the Scania because the Unimog is going to travel slower, making itself a bigger target and being exposed for longer. The Jupiter could work. It's pretty much the same specs as the one that you find on the Scania. Carries the same amount of supplies, same size medium, it's bad optics, so it doesn't really matter whether you take the Jupiter or the Scania, so we're going to leave the Scania in here. Supply helo wise, I believe you only get 2 choices, which is the AS332 or the HKP4A. AS332 is fast, 300 kph, carries a nice amount of supplies, 1500 for a decent price, 45. So we're just going to stick to this setup as it looks good. Now, infantry. It's a deck that's designed for capturing and defending towns, so what we're looking for is ATGMs, napalm infantry, a decent to high amount of infantry to hold a town, and units which can really effectively do anti-infantry warfare. First card he has here is the Kustjäger 90. These guys have a nice anti-tank weapon, at least high armor penetration. The accuracy could be a bit better. I would be hoping for something in the ranges of 60 to 70%, especially if you have infantry that is worth 40 points, which makes them even more expensive than Navy SEALs and Formosas, for example, and Spetsnaz, which are all 35-point units. But they do carry a decent amount of those. They carry 12. As I said, they're a 15-man squad at elite level of training, and that makes them extremely lethal to enemy infantry. But I believe that they will still lose to Spetsnaz, so don't think that these are a fix-all bullet for any kind of infantry, because you're going to be surprised at how quickly they go down if they encounter something that's really good at killing infantry. Then he has a card of Fallschirmjäger 90. Nice units. They have been reduced to only a shock troop level of training. They used to be the elite level, but the elites are now the FSK. If you compare these, I'm always quite confused when looking at these units. Reason for that is that I think that the Fallschirmjäger 90 is pretty much better in all respects. What I mean is that they're a 15-man squad, which means they're harder to kill. They carry 12 missiles of the Erics versus 8 from the FSK. Their main rifle, which is a battle rifle versus an assault rifle. Assault rifles are slightly better at medium to short range than a battle rifle. These things are better at a standoffish range, which is why they have a range of 595 meters. Keep in mind, an assault rifle will do more damage to infantry up close, if I remember correctly. The LMG-3 is a nice, very nice machine gun. It's probably one of the best in the game, and they have exactly the same specs. The difference here is also that the C7, the assault rifle, has a very much higher rate of fire than the AG-3. It's pretty much double. So the FSK is more geared towards anti-infantry warfare. These guys are more geared towards I suppose you could say anti-vehicle / anti-tank warfare. So it really depends on whether you're dealing with enemy infantry. We already got the Kustjäger 90 to do that. So we're just going to stick to the Fallschirmjäger 90 to do the anti-vehicle warfare. Now he also has one group of RBS 90s. That is not a high amount. I think we might need more. They already have a decent accuracy of 55% and a nice long range, but their HE damage of 4 is slightly lacking. They're transported by the STRF 9040, which is a nice IFV. We're going to see this thing 2 more times in the RBS 56 and the Sturmpionierer. Nice autocannon, good accuracy, decent armor, 4 on the front side, which means that some lower end IFVs will struggle very, very much as they're trying to penetrate the vehicle. But you usually try to get as many of these things as possible because they are great IFVs. What I would like if you're defending towns, and he's probably not going to be defending only one town, he has way too many infantry to do that, is to get another card of RBS 90s because we need to have a bit more AA manpads in here. RBS 56 are the ATGM infantry. They're a 5-man squad, which makes them significantly more survivable than squads like the ATGM Milan teams. Because an ATGM Milan team is only a 2-man squad, which means that once they start taking fire, the first shot will usually kill one of the 2. And if you have a high caliber round, you're going to be losing 2 out of 2. So you're going to be losing the entire team. These guys with a 5-man squad don't really have that problem. But their problem is that they have a pretty terrible range on their anti-tank weapon. The anti-tank weapon itself is solid. They carry 8 rounds. It has 50% accuracy and 26 armor penetration, but the ground range is troubling. This could be, this means that most tanks, barring the lower end tanks, which have a range of 2100 and 1925, will immediately be in range as this missile is coming at them. So they're immediately going to return fire, which makes these guys not that great at anti-tank warfare. But I do want to have a couple of them in the deck anyway. And I'm going to take these guys at hardened instead of veteran, because their base accuracy is well enough. And it gives me a couple more of those STRV 9040s. So 9 of those. Then we got Sturmpionierer. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Napalm troops. Nice weaponry on these guys in the form of a submachine gun and a flamethrower. They have a strength of 10, which means that they are much more survivable than the 5-man teams that some of the other engineer teams use. I believe this is the only real flame trooper that we can use. Actually, where are they? Engineers. It's the only one that Scandinavia gets. It's a Swedish unit. They are also transported in the 9040, so you also get an autocannon on the IFV that I already discussed. It's a nice unit, and with these we got 5 out of this group. We got 14 here, so we got 19 already, and then we got 9 more. So we get a total of 28 of these vehicles if we want to bring them all in. Nothing I'm going to change here. Let's see, they're at veterancy hardened. If you want to get a bit more firepower out of them, you could go for hardened, which probably still gives you enough of these guys. But I want to get more of the STRV 9040, so I'm going to stick to these. Now, he said pay special attention to the lift garden, so let's do that. They are a shock level training, so they're going to be pretty effective. They have 6 Carl Gustaf M2 weapons on them, or at least 6 rounds, I should say. Good accuracy, decent armor penetration, but especially the assault rifle, which is a battle rifle in this case, is a good asset to this unit as it has a very high accuracy. Rate of fire could be higher, but the LMG3, which is a nice to have on this unit, will mean that it is very effective at dealing with other infantry. Now, if you compare these to the Lift Garden 85, you're going to see that the 85 version has a Carl Gustaf M3. They carry the same other weaponry, the same battle rifle and the same LMG3. There is not really a reason why you would want to go with the Lift Garden 85. For 5 points more, you get 2 more armor penetration, and that's it. That's all you're getting. So I'll just take the 18 armor penetration for 20 points, because I don't think I'm getting enough value for 5 more points. Now, he has a very high amount of these guys. He has 32 in total. I think that's way too many, and what I'm going to do here is delete them both and get them at elite level, which makes them much more effective, and which still gives us 24 of these guys, which should be more than enough. Then he has one unit in here which I'm immediately going to throw out, which is the LHV, or also known as the reservists or the militia. I really dislike militias. They have a completely outdated weapon in the form of this ancient battle rifle. The Lift Garden also carry a battle rifle, but let's compare these. The LHV carry a battle rifle that has a rate of fire of 64 rounds a minute. These guys have a rate of fire that's almost 3 times as high. They got an accuracy which is very much improved. Range is the same. Of course, you're only paying a quarter of what you were paying for the Lift Garden. But the anti-tank weapon that they have on them is also pretty terrible. It's the M72 Law. Low range, low accuracy, low armor penetration. These guys are out. I will not have these in my deck. Maybe I'm going to spend this point here, but we'll see about that later on. Support-wise, he has LVKV 90s, nice AA guns. He has 9 of these because they already have a pretty good base accuracy of 60%. This is pretty much the STRV 9040 that we just saw, but with his gun pointing upwards, and it's radar guided. So beware of seaplanes. If you see a couple of those come in, quickly select all of these, press H on the keyboard, and they will turn off their weapons, which means that they are going to be safe from seaplanes. They're nice and mobile. Autonomy could have been better, but you get a decent amount of armor. So you can keep these things pretty close to the front line and still have them survive. UTS Hawks are the newest addition to the AA missile defense for the Scandinavian countries. And this unit is special in the sense that it is a anti-air missile, but it is not radar guided. It is pretty much the similar version to the standard Hawk, but this one is not radar guided, so you don't have to worry about these things getting shot by seaplanes, which makes them very nice since they don't have to be micromanaged. You can only get 1 card of these. Since they are a prototype, you can get 5 or 3, so let's stick to 5 because their base accuracy is, well, it's gonna have to be well enough. And keep these guys in groups of 2 or 3. to make sure that they are likely to shoot down an enemy plane, and you don't have to look all over your lines for these guys if you want to resupply them, because you will have to resupply them since they only carry 3 missiles. Then there's the automatic, a must-have in pretty much any Scandinavian deck. This gun will chew up helicopters, airplanes, both of these very quickly. They're going to do a ton of damage, and look at the range against airplanes. This is, I'm not sure it's unique. Maybe the Tunguska has the same thing, but otherwise it is one of the highest anti-air gun ranges in the game. Accuracy is great. Armor penetration is 12, and I have used these things before to start dealing damage against vehicles and even some medium tanks. You will not destroy a T-72 BU with these things frontally. They're not going to go through that. Same for T-90s. But other tanks will take a lot of damage. And since they have a rate of fire of 60 rounds a minute, you're going to completely how should I say this? Outfire, outpower, or overpower the enemy vehicle. Since it cannot keep up with your rate of fire, it's going to take damage, it's going to take morale damage, and then you can easily whittle it down with the last of its remaining health. AMOS mortars, nice to haves, because they carry 2 barrels. There you go. They fire 2 rounds at the same time, where a normal mortar would fire 1, and they have a high caliber. 120mm. The weak spot of these things is that they only carry 42. They're pretty ammunition hogs, so keep that in mind. But with these things you can very quickly deploy a smokescreen, allowing all of the infantry in this tab to move up quickly, so a mortar in a mechanized deck like this is pretty much a must-have. Then he has the SKHM 109A3. Decent mortar, sorry, not a mortar battery, decent howitzer. Good rate of, or medium rate of fire, 4 rounds a minute. It's not stellar. Dispersion's pretty good. They carry 36 rounds on their own with a good range of 24,500 meters, so 24.5 kilometers. HE power is 7. It's not the highest. If you want to have something that can really snipe, let's see if they do have access to the M110. I don't believe so, which means that this is probably the best howitzer that he can bring in. Yeah, this is it. The Bekan 1A, if you want to use it, comparing it to what he has in his deck, keep in mind they have the same range, but the dispersion on the Bekan 1A is much higher. This thing is more of a area saturation. It's going to destroy or weaken units over a larger area. But its rate of fire is 3 times higher than the rate of fire on the 109A3. Does the same amount of HE damage since it's both 155mm, but they're going to run out of ammo quicker. So keep them closer to a fob. He went with the 109A3. Haven't used that thing in a while, so I'm going to keep it in here. But otherwise, I think that if you want to have a higher rate of fire, go for the Bekan 1A. Bekan 1C would be nice, but that is locked out due to the mechanized limitation. Tank-wise, it would be so very nice if you could get access to the STRV 121, which is the new Swedish version of the Leopard 2A4. They could easily be my favorite tank. I cannot show you those in this game. If you want to see one of those, have a look at my other videos. Anyway, what he has in here is the STRV 103D. It's one of the S-tanks from Sweden. As you can see, a very different profile from what you normally expect in a tank, like for example the Leopard, in the sense that they don't have a turret, but they do have a tremendous rate of fire. 15 rounds a minute means that they, if they have enough targets, will go through their ammunition supply of 25 very quickly. And with this high rate of fire, good armor penetration, and decent armor, you're going to quickly destroy tanks before they can destroy you. Don't expect to slug it out with a super heavy, because that's not what these things do very well. So long as you keep that in mind, you should be all set. The slightly older brother is the STRV 103C. Comparing these, you're going to see that this thing was made in 1986. This one is 1992 according to the game. Rate of fire is the same. Armor penetration is 1 lower. Accuracy is 5% worse. Armor is 2 blocks worse, but otherwise they have exactly the same specs. It's a nice to have tank. And then he has the Leopard 1A5NO, which are definitely good units. But what I'm actually wanting to bring into this deck is the S-Tier V105. Reason for this is that the S-Tier V105 has a higher rate of fire. Sorry, no, a lower rate of fire, but a higher accuracy. That's what I was on about. Same amount of armor penetration, but the increased accuracy for a little bit lower price point and the same armor means that I will go for this unit. It is a bit of a trade-off because you're going to lose 2 rounds a minute and gain 5%. So if you do the math, the Leopard 1A5NO might be slightly better. But I've had good success with the S-Tier V105s, so that's why those things are going in my deck. Let's see, delete this guy and get, let's see, we got 21 tanks. Yeah, that should be enough. So we're going to go with hardened at those. Time for some reconnaissance. Not that many units in this section. We got 5 Volkskremjäger, which are shock level trained reconnaissance units. Very good stealth, very small size of course, decent speed, 25 kph. They're brought in by the HKP-4C. You can use these as passive spotters or as hunter teams. It depends on how you want to play the game. Because they can do both. They can just tell you what they see, or they can go after enemy targets, because with the Carl Gustav M2 they can destroy almost any vehicle. Whether it's a tank, an AA launcher, a command vehicle. If you can get your hands on a command vehicle with these guys, they have earned 5 times their price point. And that is excluding the chopper, of course. Unfortunately, we don't get access to the Marinejäger, which are the sniper teams. So this is probably the best passive reconnaissance or recon infantry that we can get. Reconnaissance, helo-wise, he went with a Cayuse. I believe that is pretty much the best reconnaissance helicopter you can get, since they all have only 4 strength, and this is something that I have been looking at lately, because the lower end manpads have a AA or an HE damage of 4, which means that they're going to one-shot one of these Cayuses if they get the chance to hit it. They are very small, which does improve their chance to survive, because they're going to be harder to lock onto. They're going to be harder to hit. But still, it's a decent reconnaissance chopper. It's not the best, but we don't really get access to the best anyway. And then he has the Wildcat. I have never had a lot of success with the Wildcat. It's pretty similar to the PNMK over here, this one. Comparing those, I think it might be exactly the same unit. You got the same gun. Yeah, it's the same unit. I don't like either of these, because this gun is pretty terrible. And look at this, why the hell is the PNMK more expensive than a unit that has better optics? It has exactly the same specs, exactly the same armor, same speed. See, this is stuff I just don't get. Why is the PNMK more expensive than the Wildcat? Maybe because it carries 210 more rounds, is that it? If you have any ideas on why this might be, please let me know in the comments down below, because I don't really see it. The unit that I do like is the DK41, sorry, the M41 DK1, which is the Walker Bulldog. These things do have accuracy, and a good lot of it. If you compare these to the Wildcat, you're going to see what I mean. Wildcat carries an autocannon. This one carries a main gun. It's not the best, it only has 10 armor penetration, but hey, it's 20 points. It carries medium, or it's a medium size, good optics, medium stealth, which is nice to have on a reconnaissance tank. Armor penetration of 10 and 50% accuracy, and I have had these things pull punches well above their weight class, where they managed to shoot T-55s and T-72s in the side, because the enemy was not expecting my reconnaissance tank there, and they just kept racking up kill after kill after kill. And ever since, I try to have these things on my deck because they have performed so well. One unit I also want to compare the M41 to is the NM116. This is the Chaffee, an ancient tank really, because they used this in World War II. But this one has been upgraded. You're going to see it fires heat rounds, which means that they're always going to do some damage to the enemy armor. Accuracy is worse, but optics are very good. Autonomy though is worse, armor is slightly worse, rate of fire is lower, accuracy is lower. So I'm just going to go with the M41 DK1, and I think that 9 of these should be enough. If I find myself losing too many of these or not having enough in 9 of these, I might switch them to 14 at trained. Then vehicle wise, we don't really have anything that has very high armor penetration yet, so that's something I'm going to have to start paying attention to. Of course, we do have the RBS 56 over here with our 26 armor penetration. We've got the Volkskamjäger, but they're all pretty low range. So vehicle wise, we're going to have to fix that, and it seems that he already thought about that with the TOW 2s and the TOW 2 on the M151 Jeep and the Laros. So we've got a high amount of tow vehicles here. And the IKV 105 fire support. It's officially classed as a tank destroyer, but I always use it as a fire support vehicle. They got a nice round of fire, decent armor penetration, 55% accuracy, which makes them pretty damn accurate for a 35-point vehicle. Some armor, although it's not going to protect you against very many things. And with these things, you can support your infantry and have them deal damage to, for example, an IFV that's pounding on your infantry. And if you lose them, well, usually they will do more damage than they are going to cost you point-wise, so it will be a decent trade. TOW 2 wise, he has the Laros, 2 groups of those at veteran. And considering they already have a base accuracy of 70%, this is going to add 24% of 70. 10% is 7%, so you're looking at about 84 to 90% accuracy. And if these things hit and kill something, and they are likely to kill something because they got 25 armor penetration, they are very likely to upvet themselves to elite, which gives you a 30% accuracy boost and make this thing accurate up to about 90%. Other vehicles that you could bring here, not that many. NM142 could work. They got 2 more missiles than the Laro TOW 2s. But that's about it. They do also have some armor, but I think that for 25 more points, nah, it's not really worth it. I'll just stick to my Laros, do some ambushes, and get the kill. Helicopter-wise, he went with a Fennec TOW 2. Nice addition from DLC 3. Because the Scandinavians, none of the countries really had any great anti-tank helicopters. Of course, you did have access to the 9A version, but this one carries only an I-TOW. They carry the same amount of missiles, and for 5 points more, you're going to have a helicopter that has more strength, is faster, can fly farther since it has a better autonomy, and has a much better weapon with higher accuracy, better stabilizer, and more armor penetration. So definitely getting the Fennec TOW 2 here. And then airwise, we got the F-16 Fighting Falcon with 2 1,000 kilogram bombs. Nice to go after vehicles, so long as they're not tanks and infantry, to kill off those. He also has the SK-60B over here. Now these are a bit of a special unit really, because they carry an air-to-ground missile, and an AGM is usually an anti-tank weapon, except for this unit. This one carries an HE charge. So it's an HE missile really that does have a range of almost 3 kilometers, but these things themselves are not that good. I think you're much better off relying on your F-16A Fighting Falcon to drop those 2 1,000 kilogram bombs than you are relying on the SK-60B. So for now I'm going to delete it. I might have to bring it in later, but I'm going to see what other units we can use here. He has 3 F-16A Block 15s for air superiority fighting. You get access to a lot better material, I think. Yeah, you get access to the Gripen, so I'm not sure why he has these in. And you get access to the F-16AM. The F-16AM and the Gripen, by the way, are pretty damn similar. The only difference, I believe, is still their main gun, unless they change that. They both have MRAMs, they got AIM-9Ls, same turn radius, same ECM, same air detection, same everything, except for the main gun. The autocannon of the Vulcan versus the autocannon of the Mauser BK-27. And even these things carry almost exactly the same specs. The Mauser having a lower rate of fire than the F-16 AM2, so I would probably go for the F-16 here. And if you compare the F-16 AM2 with the F-16 Block 15, you're going to see some significant differences here. ECM is 10% higher on the AM2. It carries MRAMs, which are fire and forgets. It carries the AIM-9L, which is slightly inferior to the missile that's carried by the Block 15. Yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off here. Turn radius is the same. I'm slightly worried about that 30% ECM though. And what also is a difference is the HE damage of the Sparrow versus the MRAM. So what I could do here is delete these, not have 3 of them at train but 2 at elite, versus having 2 trained F-16 AMs. So yeah, let's try it for now. Let's go with 2 of these guys at elite. If I don't like the performance, I can always switch them out after the game. And then he has the Vigans, which are very, very nice cluster bombers. I know that some people don't really like the cluster bomb anymore because they don't really do that much damage. But I still like them, especially the Mjolnir. It does a lot of armor penetration damage, 10. Whereas most cluster bombs do a damage of, I believe, 6. And with these you have a very good chance of destroying the enemy armor and a good chance of making it out alive too, because you got 30% ECM. So we're definitely going to keep these things in. And then for versatility, I'm going to bring the F-16A MLU. The reason is that this thing can do both support for my Block 15 air superiority fighter and deal with enemy tanks because it has a Maverick. These things do carry MRAMs, which means that if they got air targets, they can go after those and effectively kill them. And the versatility, the fact that they have the Maverick and an AA missile means that they are a nice addition to this deck. So, that leaves me with 1 point, and I can only spend that in infantry for now. We got plenty of infantry, really. I'm definitely not going to get another unit of Lift Garden in here, that would be way too much. I'm going to get a unit that has a capacity we don't really have yet, or get another RBS in here. By the way, he also has Stormers. I completely overlooked these guys. They also carry their own IFV, or their IFV carries them, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think that we already have enough IFVs and enough high-end infantry in the form of the Lift Gardens. So I'm going to delete these. That gives me the room to get another unit of RBS in here. Let's see. This will make them slightly cheaper at only 40 points instead of 50, but for 10 points I will spend it on these guys. They got an accuracy 55, so 1 card in the STRV 9040 and 1 card in, actually I'm going to switch this up a little bit, 5 at Veteran in the standard transport and 7 at Hardened in the STRV 9040, because we then get an STRV 9040. And now I want to have something that can wreak havoc behind enemy lines. Could be Kustjäger, but in this case I'm going to go for the FSK because they are nice units. Unfortunately their transport is not that good. It's only a Bell 204. They really need to invest in better helicopters, because an autonomy of 300 may mean that this is going to be a one-way trip for the helicopter. It may not have enough fuel to make it out. Other units also suffer from this problem. Actually, maybe base Kustjäger are also an option here. Actually, what's the difference between Kustjäger and Kustjäger 90? Ah, right. Kustjäger have Carl Gustav M2 and a slightly older assault rifle, it seems, which has a tremendous accuracy of 80%, but a low rate of fire. They have the same price. They're also a 15-man squad. Armor penetration is 18 versus 25, but they do have better chances to hit. And the saw that they carry is the same. These guys, the standard Kustjäger, I'm going to use as my special forces. Reason for this is that this helicopter is better. It has an autonomy of 2,000 kilometers, which is orders of magnitude better than the one that the Bell 205 is. Let's see, the Bell 205 or the 204 even has an autonomy of 300, so this thing almost has 7 times that speed or that autonomy. And I don't really need 25 armor penetration for units which are unlikely to encounter a super heavy tank. With this AK-4 I will also be able to deal with infantry very effectively, and it's a 15-man squad, so this is going to be my special forces segment. So this is my Scandinavian mechanized deck. I adjusted some things here and there. Simiejump, if you're watching this and you don't like the adjustments, go with your own deck. It's always better to go with your own selection because you know exactly what units you have, how they feel to you, how you work with them. And that's why I'm making some adjustments. Also because I feel that, for example, it's not the Lift Guard, it's the HLV or the HMV. The reservists anyway are not that good. Anyway, I hope you find this deck interesting. If you do, get it from the deck code down below in the description. If you want to send me your deck, use the link in the description down below, and please make your description as accurate as possible. What do you want to do with this deck? What have you designed it to do? What do you want me to do with it? Is it something that you want me to review for a gameplay? Is it something you want me to review for a 10v10? It really matters to me because a deck that's designed for example, Once and Harbor, if you don't mention that, I might consider it a deck for a 10v10, which is a completely different game. So the more accurate your description, the better I can advise you on what units you could have or what units you could use in this deck. So with that, I've come to the end of the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button too if you haven't done that yet to get your daily fix of Wargame videos. And I hope to see you next video.